Hello.
Hello.
Hello, people. Hello, hello, universe.
Hello, the internet.
The internet.
The
The
internet.
the mother of all youthful
Evil.
creations. No, it's our mom. How dare you?
Well, it's both beautiful creations and evil.
It's banal, I think.
But now,
Yeah,
mundane.
sort of
Nice
boring.
cup.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's made by my sister, Kian O'Toole. She's her makes ceramics.
Ceramicist.
She's a ceramicist that makes objects as mirage. Everything is slightly, imperfect. She wants to bring out the imperfections in her work.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And very straightforward.
It's very straightforward. Yeah. It's trying to remind people that, not everything needs to glimmer like gold. No. So Tatiana.
Hello, that's me.
Hello, Tatiana. And
hello.
Welcome to the darkest timeline.
Is this the title?
Nope, it's not the title. Just the pandemic's 2020. The 11th of November. Remembrance Day just passed. We're remembering all of our veterans and.
Oh, that's why everybody's wearing this little flower on their chest.
Called poppies.
Poppies, okay. Oh. See, I was not aware of that. I took mushrooms on Saturday and I was walking on Westmount and I would just see all these like old people with their puppies walking by and I was just trying to remember what that was for. Thank you for reminding me.
No problem. Yeah, I've lived here in Canada my whole life, so I think I should remember Remembrance Day.
But, get it?
Mm-hmm. Little pun there. I'll keep them coming.
Keep them coming, please. I think that's the highest form of comedy in our times. So. Yeah.
Yeah, Ricky Gervais was dead wrong. Fat bastard. He's like degraded. Puns. He thinks they're sort of like a low form of humor. I don't think so though.
I think they're very intellectually charged. And as long as they're good, I
just think a lot of people's brains need to condense, level and sharpen it for information. So
yeah, it has a lot of synchronicity to it for it to be successful. So which is what I find intellectually challenging about it. It's like you and I are in the same track of thought and we get the same joke right there and then. That is combined from just letters.
Yeah, I think for me, like I notice my natural like free-forming thought will be drawn to creating alliterations and like my writing. And thought it's just I love them. It's and it's like totally subconscious. So I think the kind of something similar is happening with puns, unless you want to be really pretentious and think like, oh, this like low form of humor is intellectually inferior. And if you're making it, I think that, we may not be able to be friends anymore. Even though I'm not sure if really anybody says that.
I think that's a harsh judgment. Do you think that you can be friends with anyone for such a petty reason as that?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, okay. I guess I passed the test of pun jokes.
Right. It's all of these other like little biases that I have will arbitrarily create exceptions. If I already don't like somebody or I just don't have a good feeling about them, they give a pun, it's like
fuck
an excuse
you,
just
man.
To say just that. Fuck them. Fuck this, fuck that.
Goodbye from my life forever. We're never gonna make it. So welcome to this episode. It's I think it's the 5th unofficial episode of what we've been trying to do for the past 2 months.
It's
called,
been a long time coming.
Right? Yeah, we've been preparing for this very artisanal conversation on politics, art, culture, memes,
Hatred, humanity, religion, nature.
Yes, we hate a lot of shit.
And love. No, just and love. Maybe try to get some love in there too. Why not?
Just try everything. It's
Every
about
once in a
everything.
while.
Yeah, every once in a while we smoke joints and we feel better.
Yeah. The smoking and weed a lot less though.
Yeah, same. I was gonna say I haven't smoked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is the line in the sand.
Yes, the podcast called The Line in the Sand.
We're improving with our promo for letting people know, like, wait, no, I'm Liam, this is Tatiana, and we are Line in the Sand.
Should we do this?
We could. I think we just did. We'll wait it for next time.
Okay. Yeah.
Work cool. Something to improve on.
Yeah. Let's write that note. Write that down.
Speak in unison when introducing the podcast to the audience. Yeah, she's writing it down. Got a pen. That's great. Good.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. Speaking. So, what's up with you? What's new?
Oh man, just dealing with the end of the world. Feels like.
Does it? I feel the same way.
The same way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know how I guess like how I feel like it does feel like kind of normal. I'm just almost getting acclimatized. I'm used to these like restrictions with lockdown. I don't like complaining about it, but I probably do a lot more. I like to believe that I'm not complaining about it. About the lockdown, all these restrictions putting in place. I think I'm definitely watching too much news.
Maybe, yeah.
More and more, but what can I say? I'm doing as well. I'm doing well. Doing well, thanks. How about you, Tatiana? How are you doing?
I just got tested negative.
Hey.
Yes. I was coming down
Congrats.
Thank you. That's what the nurse told me. Anyway, can I say the story of me getting tested, or is it
Yeah, I didn't know you got tested. Tell me all about it.
So I was coming down with a cold since Sunday, but I feel like that's every time after I do mushrooms. Like after I do mushrooms, and then the next day I feel kind of sick or something.
Maybe you should tell the mushroom story. It's like feels like it's a part of. It's kind of the dramatic end of a psychedelic trip is that you're gonna get tested.
Do we want this to? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, this is unless you don't want to share.
I don't want to share my drug stories on this podcast.
Okay, let's move on then. All right, tell me about getting tested for COVID.
That's you're crossing the line, Liam. So
you draw the line in the sand.
Pun intended.
Puns are fun. All right, so what did the nurse say?
I go there. Like I was coming down with a cold. I had a sore throat. I had a runny nose, and then I go to get tested because I've seen. I was in contact with 2 people last week, so I was like, okay, maybe I did get it or whatever. So I go to get tested, and when you go there, they ask you, why are you here, as if it's not a global pandemic. And anyway, so I tell them I'm here because I have a sore throat and a runny nose, and the nurse literally rolled her eyes at me. She was like,
"That's it."
She was like, "Okay." Like, bitch, you're wasting our time. It's probably cold. And then I go into a room where the nurse was gonna perform the test, which is actually not that hard. Okay, everybody's complaining about it.
Well, did you get the nasal test?
Both. You get both. They do one in your mouth and one in your nose, which it's kind of ticklish. I cried when they put it in my nose because it was like, and a tear crossed like my chin. And then the nurse asked me, is this your first COVID test? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, congrats, you've survived for so long. And I'm like, yes, I have. And then a day later, I had my results, and I was negative.
That's a fast turnaround.
That's I know good. For a day. Yeah, I know. Well, like, yeah.
I thought it was taking a little longer, but I guess it's like a new test in there. But yeah, I do think, like, you know, I don't know, people just complain about the littlest things sometimes. I always kind of think it's like, hey, that's how they feel. Let them speak their truth. I'm not gonna. Who am I to judge?
But, I agree with you, but
you know, at the same time, the naval cavity, right? They have to use, like, push like back here is kind of like magicians will exploit it. Right? Well, if you ever seen like at a freak show, they'll take like a nail and like a hammer and like
yeah, I've seen that.
The nail, and looks like they're just going right into their skull, but it's the naval cavity.
Yeah.
And they go straight back, and this is where the COVID test will go, and it is uncomfortable, right?
I cried.
When I was an aspiring magician when I was in middle school, and yeah, I was like experimenting and like, how far could I put like a crayon in this cavity and just, like, you know, testing it.
How far?
I got pretty far. I got like a whole crayon.
like the mini crayons, like a
yeah, Crayola crayons.
Okay, that's the brand. I was trying to remember the brand.
Yeah, maybe we can get them as a sponsor. Bad. It's not bad, but you know, again, it's like, you guys are babies. Like, deal with it. What, you like scraped your knee? Boo hoo. But you know, I think that's like, it goes to show, like, my dad's parenting style was based off of, you know, the movies from the 1980s. So kind of like, suck it up, we're gonna yell at you and we're gonna do some football drills. So
okay, yeah,
you're gonna walk it off.
I'm very familiar with a parenting style myself from the entirety of my family. Like, grandparent, everyone was like, just fucking stop being a little bitch about it.
Exactly.
And look how healthy adults we are today.
Yeah, come on, look how great our parents are doing. Like, they've survived for a long time. But anyways, you know, let's go into, like, you know, our first little segment here. We're going to talk about the U.S. election.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about ourselves.
Thought we did already.
Okay, I thought we were going to have an introduction as to, like, this is who I am and this is who Liam is.
Yeah. I mean, I think people will maybe people can figure that out. Maybe we'll do it next time.
Figure it out yourself. So we're going to put our Instagram handles under the thing. And
we're both traumatized individuals and we're here to talk about
University.
From Concordia University. We want to know what really you know, what people in Montreal think about culture and art, and we're going to talk.
Do they know things?
I think in the next episode we should talk about all of the, like, weird political nonsense that's coming out of Quebec. These language policing laws.
Oh,
you know, these Quebec parties trying to shut down businesses that don't abide by these language laws, because, like, people don't know, like, you know, Montreal is a bilingual city, but Quebec has a long history of you know, having a French speaking minority, and they've fought for you know, their autonomy over the years, but on top of that, they've really pushed the French language above and beyond I think reasonable limits.
Yeah, or even, like, sometimes human power, you know.
But every few years, it's like some politician gets in their head that, like, Quebec isn't francophone enough. People aren't speaking enough French, so they want to, like, start, you know, harassing businesses for not having, like, internal correspondences in French, for not hiring more people who speak French, not pressuring people or incentivizing them to learn French and speak French in the business. And they think they're losing their culture, which is inextricably tied up with the French language.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I went to get my new glasses today, and I was talking to the girl at the shop, and she was
in
like,
French, I hope.
Oh, you better be fucking sure I did.
Oh yeah, it'd be like parler français.
I was like, est-ce qu'on peut parler anglais?
Oh,
I just switched to English because I think it's like I could, I could do it in French, but then I had questions about my frames, and I didn't want to do it in French and like miss some information that's vital to the $300 that I was gonna spend.
Mm-hmm.
So we had this little chat, and she was like, I don't speak English very well because even though I moved to Montreal to learn English, I never had to use it. And I'm like, where are you from? And she was from Trois-Rivières, which is like in Quebec, close to Quebec City. And she moved to Montreal to also learn English. And she's like, I've never used it. Since 2 minutes ago, that I started talking to you in English, I haven't used it in like months. And I'm like, okay, so it's a very friendly to francophone city. So why are they complaining about Anyway, we should have a native Quebecer in our podcast. I have a lot of friends that are very open to this conversation, and we can have a nice introduction and hopefully constructive dialogue.
So something both of us are interested, like you being from Greece, and where I'm interested in in how to create a pluralistic society, and what's sort of needed for that, and having other people's perspectives and on these moves that politicians in Quebec make to enforce French as the homologic language. I don't know if it's really
the right move.
I don't know. It's just, I have a lot of feelings about it, and I guess it's better to kind of interview other people and sort of expand my mind a bit more. So yeah, let's do it for a future episode.
Yeah, write that down too. I'm gonna get my cigarettes, and then let's start talking about the election. I'm very excited about this conversation.
Okay, we're gonna take a commercial break.
You should sing a song.
All right, so
I'll give you a beat.
No, you're gonna go get your cigarettes.
Okay.
So here we're going to leave an empty space for a sponsor. We're sponsored by Tushy today. You ever go to Europe? Yeah, I've been there. Sure, you've been there. Maybe you're in Europe now. A lot of people don't even use toilet paper there. But in North America, we've been using toilet paper for, I don't know, decades. But that's a big waste. Why don't we just start using bidets? And that's where our sponsor today, Tushy, comes in. It is a portable bidet.
I think you can't really mention their names. I think it's very illegal to do that.
Illegal?
Mm-hmm.
It's a free ad for them. What are they complaining?
It's illegal because our other sponsors are going to get mad.
I don't know. Well, no one's paying us right now. I don't think we're going to have a problem at all. Leave it up to the lawyers. Leave it up to the lawyers. So anyways, yeah, now we're done with our sponsors. Little segment. Let's go in and we'll jump right into the big news of November.
Yes.
The U.S. election. What are you saying? Anyway, can I start with one comment that I have, which is kind of outdated now because the results are out and Trump lost, not enough. But I was so surprised by how hard people worked on social media to make people go vote. Mm.
To me, that was unreal.
Yeah, there was a huge push huge push to get people to go vote all around. And it's like, I don't know, and in the end, there's still, I don't know, I think like maybe like a third of Americans, still eligible voters, did not vote. And like now that, and in every single election cycle, you end up hearing about like how is the president going to bring the two sides to kind of come together. But I'm almost like kind of bored of that idea, because there's so many like crazy assumptions you have to make about like who Republicans are or who Democrats are.
Yeah.
And there's no way you can actually like get a good picture of the like to represent what a Democrat is or who it is. It's like there's such a diversity of views.
Yeah, I guess it is like a spectrum, right? Politics is a spectrum, so you can't have like, I don't know, like I don't think you can do it with anything, like a clear line as to what is who or who is what.
Right. But we do that all the time. I do it.
Me too.
The media does it. But I do think that if news organizations were able to take the lead and be far more disciplined in speaking about like issues rather than the like kind of caricatures of particular voting demographics and whatnot, people may start to change their behavior. But it's like a multi-decade long project, and the news is a business, and they're just going to need to like in the business, they're going to have to change with the business cycle, right?
Yeah, I saw a comic video from some comedians that they were pretending to be a liberal newspaper,
right?
And they were pretending that Trump lost, so now their business is going out of business basically because they have nothing to complain about. They have no material to publish, and they have nothing to be bitching about. Mm-hmm. Which is kind of like how media works now.
Oh, for sure. Like Matt Taibbi's book, Hate Inc. Went into this a lot, where he like describes the shift in the media landscape since the Trump election. This at like MSNBC and CNN to a lesser extent, but even them are starting to go after a narrowing demographic for their audience, so they're catering their material and their content to like serve the assumptions and beliefs of a narrow group of people. So and the best way to create engagement is to provide sensationalist stories that will outrage you. And now that like basically we're starting to kind of see like will that have a negative effect on democracy, on the democratic, on people's willingness to engage in civil discourse. And I find that like a very compelling story, but at the same time, like it's almost crazy to think that it's like this is a new phenomenon in America. Like America has been so hostile to itself for its whole history. I don't think it's ever gone away. It's kind of subsided for a while, for like a few, like maybe a decade at some point, but then you get a new president come in, or and
but even then,
so like now it's like you try to like solidify like, well, what is different, what has caused this change, how have people adapted? And a lot of the time there's like so much of like this happens all the time, right? It's like it seems like something is new because like the news is reporting on a story, letting you know that like the big thing right now is that like Trump has not conceded the election, and many people start to speculate. Like you have pundits like sort of providing their comments, and that's just creates a great news cycle.
Yeah,
and this is in part
for another week.
for another week.
And as if last week wasn't enough.
And but you know, as you were saying with those comedians saying like, well, once Trump is out of office, the liberal news networks are going to like, you know, lose a bunch of business, as they're not going to have their villain to talk about anymore.
But maybe Biden is going to be a villain soon, you know. It's going to be like a normal villain.
No.
You don't think so?
Obama hasn't become a villain for the left.
Well, yeah, he's not.
But for the mainstream Democrats, for like mainstream media, like they rarely engage in a critical perspective on Obama's legacy. They're too busy, you know, worrying about Trump and the rise and the influences of you know, cyber attacks from Russia.
Cyber attacks?
Yeah, like Russia interfering with the electoral process and providing misinformation and disinformation. You know,
that's the best kind of information, if you ask me.
The stuff that's totally not true but gets you pissed
Exactly,
off.
I love it.
Oh my God, it's like in the Democratic Party, it's just run by a bunch of pedophiles, and they're having some sex dungeon in the basement of a pizza parlor in Washington.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
It's Pizzagate. That was in 2016.
You know, in Quebec, they have this pizza with pasta on top of it, like spaghetti.
Ew, that's so gross.
I know. Imagine having to serve that in the fucking pretentious Italian restaurant that you work at. But it's
actually owned by a bunch of Greek people.
Yeah, that's insane. Like I've worked in 2 of them. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But they had it's called Pizzagate. So when I hear Pizzagate, I'm thinking of Quebec for some reason. But did you see any interesting memes about the election? I saw a tweet that was really funny and real, and it pretty much sums up all of my thoughts about the results of this election. And it was, and now we go back to normal levels of racism.
Oh, is that what the tweet was?
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's true. Like, yeah. So we need to remember that when we just because like on Saturday, everybody was out celebrating the election, especially in New York, because I follow a lot of people from New York.
Yeah, the videos on the street were crazy.
Yes.
You know, yeah, I don't know. Well, I kind of like a little bit of a hopeful story. What's kind of nice, right, is it is nice to see all of these people like in the streets, like celebrating and being really happy, even like, though I think my view is to be kind of cynical and think it's kind of naive to think that like Biden is going to be the vehicle for change that would like, you know, provide a greater safety net with like healthcare and like, you know, job security, or even just like unemployment, like insurance as well. And you know, there's so many more problems in America than there are here in Canada. But you know, at the same time, it's like you got to let people celebrate for their victories. But what's so like I have an aunt who is married to like a man who's like quarter Chinese, and she has like 2 kids. So it's like her like little cute Chinese, like quarter Chinese like kids, and like they're multiracial. It's like a multicultural like household. And these little kids, they're so cute. They were like obsessed with the polls of the election. They knew all of these statistics and like what the percentages of people like of Democrats, you know, being able to win in like Ohio or like Michigan and New York and like Florida, and they like throw it out. They're so excited to talk about it, and they're like watching the night of the election, and like people, you know, keep the news anchors keep like discussing the significance of Kamala Harris being the first, you know, woman, multiracial, female vice president. And both her kids were just really confused on why they kept talking about this. They're like, what does this mean? Why do they keep saying this? And they didn't know the history of like racism and
Yeah.
oppression,
Yeah.
and like that women didn't have the right to vote like 100 years ago, at the civil rights movements in the 60s, and they were just shocked and confused, and they just didn't understand why women would not be accepted in these positions of power, because like for them, they have like their friends' parents and their teachers. It's like all these like women are from a bunch of different backgrounds, are in positions of authority, so they don't think that it's weird.
Yeah, that's really, really hopeful to me. But I find a certain danger in them finding out, because yes, they're gonna like appreciate their reality more, because they're gonna put it in a historical context and realize that, hey, a lot of things that are normal to us now were not normal back in the day, which is like nice to know, and get you like to check in with your privilege and how better your life is and stuff. But it also goes into for me, what I think a really dangerous discourse of identity politics. And if those kids start thinking like this, then the whole issue of racism is never going to be necessarily like ultimately resolved if we
Yeah. I do like, what's nice about the story, right, is that basically they've gone this far in their life, like they're like, I think the oldest one is like 8, right, and like,
oh, they're babies.
He's never had to think about identity politics.
Yeah.
And like he's being introduced to the idea of identity politics here. It's like, what, like that's what was so funny, is that he was kind of reacting, and it just sounded strange to his ears. That this language of identity politics, where it's like you need to emphasize the multiracial identity of Kamala Harris. And so I get your point, but at the same time, it's like it's so hard to say like what the future is going to be like for them, and
so they need to be aware. I agree with that, but it's just like a slight danger in the back of my head if I was like in front of a situation like this. For example, like my siblings are really super young, and like we have a little bit of conversations here and there as much as I can, because they're really far away, but like every time, like should I let them know that there is sexism? If they are aware of it, are they going to perform it, or are they going to be against it? So
it's hard to say, right? Like because at least for me, like I kind of think it's like, well, it's just not my place to talk about this subject with an 8-year-old. Like I'm not gonna like think like or lecture a parent to being like, it's going to be so hard for you to talk to this subject about them. Like maybe it's like they're not ready for this like subject matter. Like, do you have to introduce your kids to these like politically charged ideas, from a very young age? I'm not sure if that is like going to be beneficial or not. Maybe there's like some scientific like studies that out there that I'm like totally not aware of, but who knows even if these studies are right. Like I'm pretty kind of like agnostic and try to be open to these changes. And but I get your point with like identity politics. I have a problem with identity politics, but I guess like my issues about it too, I think, are almost like short-lived a lot of the time, where maybe it's also like I'm trying to get used to the idea of like what a multiracial, multi-generational coalition would like requires.
And imagine you were born and raised in Canada, which is one of like, I feel like it's a fairly multiracial and multicultural country within its like like middle class, lower, even upper class, like mostly middle class situation.
Yeah.
Like
there's still quite a bit of like subtle, segregation and this like need, and there's always ways to like improve, and you should be aware of how how you can do that. And that's like something I guess I like try to focus on in my own like political and like learnings.
I agree. Yeah,
because like if online it's like so tempting to create like an us them dichotomy, and because like you can get a lot of entertainment and clicks out of that shit, like the like making fun of like libtards doing stupid stuff, or like the failures of the like media network and not being able to call the election, and like throwing a lot of like venom and kind of like hate out there, and even people that you like may like agree with on some issues, but not on everything. It's just not something I find all that interesting as much anymore. Like I would much rather try to like work on myself to figure out like how to be less angry, less hateful, more hopeful and understanding, and also try to learn how to convince others really of a more like loving and understanding future in like in society. And a lot of times it's like in the typical identity politics like rhetoric, it's how should like it's some of the strategies that are involved in trying to state what your identity is and asserting it and trying to correct other people's assumptions may not actually provide an outcome in which like they have an opportunity to change their mind, to like think about their history and relate to the struggles of someone who is, whether they be like trans or gay or black or there is a way for anybody to empathize and sympathize with someone else, and that I guess I'm what like curious on like how you can do that more, and sometimes there's like but there's still like a balance you have to strike. That's like really hard, because if you you want to be able to feel comfortable in your own skin, assert your identity
and skill,
and it takes a skill.
It takes a skill. It takes like a certain level of communication skills to make that clear from the head start, especially when you're indulging in conversations like this.
And sometimes it's like you're, especially if you like assume that the worst in the in other people who are ignorant of more progressive politics, and not convinced of it, like there I sort of like feel kind of bad, because it's more of a lost opportunity, and it often can actually like ingrain thoughts and beliefs in someone who it has more conservative politics, to like distrust, changing their like even like being open to changing their mind.
But like what you're saying mainly puts the weight on the more on the person who has those more progressive ideas already engraved in their brain, and they're like living by them. But sometimes the weight is also on the person who doesn't have the progressive ideas and the progressive beliefs, and they're really, really hard to break into. So sometimes it's just impossible to make them even listen to you about something that they completely disagree with. And that's what's, for me, that's like my nemesis. Like I can never break through that, no matter how many conversations I have with those people. I really, really try. I truly do. And you know how much I try, because you've met most of my friends and you understand that not all of them have the necessarily most progressive ideas.
Or their idea of progressivism is like still kind of polluted.
Yes, from other non-progressive ideas. So I don't know. It's just a constant struggle.
It is. It's a
constant struggle. It's so struggling.
You can't I think like, we can move forward, and like, I think like something I've been kind of, you're right there.
I just dropped my pen. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Like, so, I have a neighbor who like grew up from like Africa, and like she's taking some classes, and they like a group project, and the subject of like Black excellence came up, and of course like she is for to allow like people discussing openly Black excellence and not feeling they have to like self-censor this like subject matter. But and she was like telling me how somebody in the class like was bothered by this type of discourse, the discourse of Black excellence.
Who?
Just another classmate, and she was like, this classmate's like basically white, right? And my friend from Africa is
basically white.
I forget exactly what her background like is.
It's Caucasian.
Like Caucasian, but yeah, I don't know. She could
like
even
white.
been. She could have been like mix too. I know, but let's just assume she's white. I don't remember all the details of the story, but
it is an important detail.
Not always, man.
Okay, finish the story, then I'll judge.
So, but anyways, like it's one of these things where it's like hard for people to like come to accept like a minority speaking in a manner in which that they put themselves like basically on the top of a hierarchy, through the discourse, and like it's like only preaching about like Black excellence, and they feel alienated basically from this discourse, and their discomfort, they don't really understand it, but intuitively they'll want to try to find some common ground, but in that like intuition for them, right, it's like they're actually then sort of pushing back against the discourse of Black excellence, because they feel like, well, I can't actually belong in that discourse at all because I'm not Black. And of course it's like not all Black people are excellent. Why would you say untrue things like this? What's the point? And but a lot of times it's like in social groups we say a lot of untrue things to create a sense of like community and pride and encourage each other and motivate each other, and like if those are the like results of this kind of like discourse, for the most part, is not really a good reason to try to denounce this talking point.
Yeah, that's basically a lot of like cynicism combined with nihilism, in my opinion, or even pessimism.
Maybe, but I think also too they can kind of come out in a naive way in culture shock. Like I definitely, unless you're sort of in a, it's actually maybe it's like beyond culture shock, because like if in the state of like simply like having culture shock, usually you're like entering into another culture, but when you're when like a society is in kind of going through these like processes of like of becoming more pluralistic, people really struggle with like how they feel that their society should reflect their identity. And if the society starts to reflect other identities that they don't relate to, they can like intuitively just have a lot of resistance that is totally unexplainable for them. Like they just can't even really comprehend it, and it takes a lot of work, and a lot of external conditions that don't really have a lot to do with that individual a lot of the times, but maybe like their family circumstances, the knowledge that they have,
their upbringing,
like so many little like factors, and this kind of gets back to maybe a little bit of like some of the problems that kind of come into like the public discourse in identity politics.
I
right?
think
Because
that's a
it's like
huge part of the problem in that discourse and thing.
like check your privilege is such a useless idea to me. It's like
Mm. I I think it might be useless to you, who I identify as a, kind of like educated, read individual, with experiences in a multicultural world, but the same phrase for a person, like, I imagine like a Greek person that just came off the boat, like me for 5 years ago. It was a very useful phrase for me to be more accepting and understanding of the different experiences that were more related to American history and that historical context that I was not aware of, growing up and being taught history in Greece. So I think that phrase might be useless if we're talking about two individuals who are. It depends where you're coming from. Again, like, check your privilege depends where you're coming from, and I don't think it's useless. I think it can be used. It can be misused in a conversation.
yeah.
Like, it can shut a conversation down. It can shut a dialogue down, and then it becomes just what's the word when people just it's a preaching.
Yeah, they start evangelizing the need for
Yeah.
people to check their privilege. And
Yeah.
like, for I'm like a white guy, and there's little utility for me to like to talk about checking my privilege or telling other people to check their privilege. You know,
Maybe,
um,
maybe
like
telling
like
other
I
people.
and in some cases I would say, okay, uh, there's a level of kind of awareness that comes along with learning this concept, and I can see how it's like helpful for other people. Just because it's useless to me doesn't mean that it can't be useful.
To other
So,
people. Yeah.
but that kind of like like being said, like there's a yeah, like the kind of scary part a lot of the time of these type of concepts of where it does start to get being misused, and there are the motivation of people using it a lot has kind of an orthodoxy,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I think there is that is dangerous, for different reasons, uh, like in some in a lot of cases I would say, like, when we for people who aren't like religious and aren't raised with a strong emphasis on religion but is so alien to them that it's hard for them to imagine them starting to act and behave and think
Mm-hmm.
in a way that is extremely idealistic and has this like religious orthodoxy, and like evangelizing and preaching other people to
Mm-hmm.
also convert to these basically kind of like these beliefs. And
Mm-hmm.
if you're and if you engage in a discourse where like your aim is to change the other person's beliefs, like that is religion. That's like those are like fundamental modes that occur in religious practices,
Or even
rather
cults.
in cults too. Yeah, and like and I think for me, like I've been interested in how like anybody can be susceptible to cult like thinking. And like my kind of conclusions I've like drawn from like the readings I've done is you can never escape that risk. And if you start to think that like I'm not susceptible to cult like thinking, like that's when you're in a
Mm-hmm.
like you probably are already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens
Yeah.
all the time, and it's like fucking everywhere. It's in it's on like left wing
Mm-hmm.
politics, right wing politics. It's like all over the states. Um, you know, but it's like, and basically only education really is the answer to like, getting out of this cult-like mentality.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's like it takes a lot of strength and a lot of constant critical thinking to avoid a behavior like this, which I think most people, including myself, are not fully equipped with.
And like, this kind of gets into something we wanted to like talk about on these, like in meme culture, is because like the internet is like such a bizarre thing, and like us, like we like come across like memes all the time, and for the older generation of people who are like worried about like national security, they're just like fearing Russia like interfering with the integrity of the U.S. elections. But like memes are kind of like a benign thing, and it's so intertwined with like free speech, but it can start to like reflect political action, because it's like if you want to like ingrain yourself to committing to an ideology, what the thing that starts to change first isn't like your behavior, but it's the kind of art you consume. And
like when art is memes.
When art is meme, and art are memes. It's like our standards of what art is so egalitarian now. It's like so easily accessible. It's like fucking garbage is like shown in the MoMA, and it's just like it's art. What was it last summer?
Whoa, hold up.
It's like a banana was like taped on the wall and sold
that was,
for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, but like to understand that, you need to know the context of the artist who made it, which is Mauricio Catalan, and he always like tricks the art world in ways like this that are more successful than fucking Banksy or Bansky or whatever his fucking name is.
But the point is that like if more people have like this tolerance to sort of seeing this like everyday objects suddenly elevated to art, you start to kind of have a lot of leeway. This great dynamic starts to change around what you interpret as like significant objects and the implications of these objects signifying something, right? Like, and you hear it all the time, like especially in the Trump era, it's like, MAGA hats were being seen as hate crime objects. Someone and it's this, and this is
or even like black and green outfits now with the boys, like the great boys. Proud Boys. I was at a picnic because the weather was nice.
That's racist.
This girl was wearing what?
Picnics are racist. They're so like white. My God, how dare you?
I was actually with two people of color in that picnic.
It doesn't matter. It's like,
my friends are gay. I'm not homophobic. But
I'm joking. If people don't know, that was a
I
joke.
got it. Like this is our humor, people. This is our sense of humor. We go like our voice is lower or they get like deeper, and we say something that's fully inappropriate, and that we think that's funny.
It's just like very deadpan, because I'm trying to make you like test to see if you think I really do think these absolute principles hold universally. Like picnics everywhere, racist all the time, no doubt.
Even marathons.
Running, so racist. All these people running around everywhere.
Fuck them.
My God.
Wearing MAGA hats? Fuck them.
So tell me about this picnic, though.
So this girl was, she had like a hat that was like green and black, and she was like, I'm really scared to wear it now because I feel like I show support to the
The Proud
the Proud
Mhm.
Boys. And I was like, girl, no, like relax for a second, because like no, come on, no, that can't be it. Like that's like they no, it's insane to think like this. It's like me wearing red and thinking I'm a communist because I'm wearing red. Like,
but yeah, it happens all the time. It's kind of like, what is it? The kind of logic around like victim blaming.
oh, where is that coming from?
I'm just saying there's like if women even today may
Oh
think
yeah,
that
like what they're
the
wearing.
what they're
Yeah.
wearing is like sexualizing them, so that
Yeah.
the
Oh, that's a good
harassment they receive
argument.
is they
Yeah.
deserve.
So it's the same I feel like it's the same like
It's a
thought
similar
process.
rationale.
Yeah. By the way, Lucky's being so sexy right now.
Oh, your cat, Lucky?
Mm-hmm.
What a nice pussy.
He's like the greatest of pussies.
Yeah, you're lucky to have him.
I know, I'm a lucky.
You're lucky pussy to have
I'm a lucky pussy to have a pussy.
God
so
damn.
Lucky.
Yeah.
So, how
But I
are
wanted
you?
to show like, cause this one thing, like my opinion on this, like kind of confusion around the
the memes
culture stuff.
Mhm.
It kind of comes down to this, like this kind of like could be like shown in this one meme here.
Okay, I'm gonna go pee. We're gonna cut this part out. Find the meme and then
I have
I'll be
it
back.
already.
Okay, but I really need to pee.
Oh my god, fine.
I'll be back. We're gonna cut this part out.
I'm gonna pause it. All right.
Can you pause the?
Yeah. So what is like dangerous to me is like how left-wing art culture, like meme culture, is like kind of parodying the paranoia of right-wing, of a typical like right-wing ideologue, and making fun and like satirizing like this kind of communist Red Scare paranoia. And they're actually so like pretty good, but they almost have become so good they're like indistinguishable from the real thing. And this seems to be
see an example.
kind of like dangerous, like a bit to me, because like if you're just, especially on the internet, because you're basically just creating content like ammunition for people who are the right-wing ideologues to sort of confirm that like, well, like there are these extreme leftists, this communists who want to start a revolution and like destroy our society.
They're ready.
They're already doing it. They've been doing it.
Don't know what they're waiting for.
But do you see? I shared my screen here, didn't I?
No, you haven't.
I haven't. Okay, so here is this it? You're sharing.
You can't kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution.
Yeah, but they so people who can't who are listening to this. So like, there's a photo of different people for like each wood. So like you have like John McCain, and then for Can, who's that again? It was
the Black Panther actor,
Boseman. Mm-hmm. And then for Kill, you have the leader of Cuba.
Yeah, but what's his name? My brain stopped.
Che Guevara, right?
Che Guevara.
Or no, or is that the other one?
No, that's not Che Guevara. That's the guy that looks like my old boss, Joseph. Is it Che Guevara?
We should.
No, Che Guevara was dead.
Right, so it's not Che Guevara, but it's
Fidel Castro.
Fidel Castro. So you got McCain, John McCain, Can, Chadwick Boseman, Kill, Fidel Castro. A revolutionary. You have RGB. You have Butt, and there's Nancy Pelosi. And then you have there's a picture of Karl Marx, and then Kant, and then who's that again?
That little girl.
The little girl.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's that little girl, the little white girl that was like, "You took my thing away.
Take
you
away
took
my
my
future.
childhood. You take away Greta Thunberg."
There you go. Exactly. It's Greta Thunberg. And then you got Kill the Revolution. And then it's like a kind of typical communist propaganda where it's like starts with a profile picture of Karl Marx that then, moves into like Lenin and Stalin, but then it ends with Joe Biden. In I think like a Chinese communist like soldier uniform from like the 1950s revolution. And it's just like so bizarre here because like so many of these people are just like, a part of the establishment, like McCain, Pelosi, RGB, even Chadwick Boseman is like, part of like a media culture.
But he played in Black Panther.
Right. Which was like a superhero movie of like Marvel. but that's representing the thrill of warring nations. So like the soft power of that kind of propaganda sort of justifies the use of force and violence to resolve conflict, international conflict.
Yeah. Well, to me, that meme reads as, here's a bunch of people that were portrayed to fight for a good cause, made mistakes on their way in the sense that they were preoccupied with their professions to make bank so they could live a decent life. But they were also corrupted in those processes of making bank. And
even Greta Thunberg.
Especially Greta Thunberg. Yeah. However, yeah, it's like, oh, you have all these quote unquote revolutionaries that are dead, and then you have those. I don't understand why Karl Marx is still there, because he dead as fuck.
Well, most of these people half of them are dead, half of them are alive.
So basically, Nancy Pelosi and Greta Thunberg are alive, and Biden is alive. Yeah, but like also the photo is divided in two parts. So I feel like the upper part is the dead people and the lower part is the live people. So there's like it's a formal mistake of the meme to put a dead person in the lower part where it's a bunch of live people. Right?
But maybe, but now you're kind of getting to the aesthetic analysis. This like more or less is trying to like understand and rationalize like this kind of, humor in this like meme.
But you do have to go into the aesthetic analysis if you're rationalizing the humor, because it is a JPEG. So the architecture of the meme says a lot about the meme. Usually memes are basically architectural decisions of text on top of images, right?
I don't know. Like if I would rate this meme, I would give it 2 bananas.
What's the top grade?
A bunch of bananas.
A bunch of bananas. All right, I would give it maybe 5 bananas.
5 bananas?
5 bananas.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, let's split the difference. Right? It's like 3 bananas.
3 bananas. But okay, why would you give this meme 3 bananas? Explain, and then I'll explain why I give it 5 bananas.
No, I'm saying like, I would much rather give it like 2 bananas, maybe to like a banana peel.
So 2.5 bananas.
Yeah, 2 bananas, a banana peel.
Okay.
I want to make you like slip and fall like a Schadenfreude. The other one to like soothe yourself and you're like crying on the floor. The other 2 bananas you can just eat.
And get the energy to just get yourself back up.
Potassium, beautiful for recovery. Yeah, like this is a great like a good meme for either side. People who are like in on the joke and people who are not in on the joke. So right, it's like either it's kind of like, you know, it's going to be shown to people who and shared around with a lot of like, you know, far lefty mofos who really think, hey, this is really funny. All these right wingers are probably going to like, this is what they really think. But then all these right wingers are going to see these lefties posting this thing and be like, hey, this just confirms my belief that like they actually are as dangerous as I think they would be.
Yeah, that's why I would give it 5 bananas, because of its ambiguity that is more relatable to a greater crowd instead of one side or the other. However,
but I'm giving it 2 because it basically within that dynamic it creates an impotent rage where it's like, oh, I because I understand the joke, now I feel have a sense of superiority without thinking about the strategies to actually, you know, push the outcome that I find desirable.
Yeah. See, the difference is that, yeah, that's a total rational rating for the meme, and from what you explained. But I feel like the difference is that I see, like, as an artist making work when it has a greater amount of relatability to the audience, I think it's a more successful work. That's why I give it more bananas.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess like to me, the like within ambiguity, there's also potential for like the right for a lot of people to see different things, right? And that seems like almost like there's a utility for the art in it because like the artist now can create something that appeals to a lot of different people.
And then their meme page is more popular.
And their meme page is more popular. You know, maybe they can get some sponsored posts in there.
Yeah, like
sponsored by the revolution.
Yeah, like this new revolutionary.
Yeah, maybe they should get in touch
B-Day, Cold Tushy.
I was going to say that they could get in touch with Cuba tourism, and
that's so smart. You should do their managing.
Yeah, I should be their ad man, their manager. I'm sure they would love that.
So what else are you doing this time? Do you want to pitch some of your work to the audience?
My work
Yeah,
right now?
plug your things.
No.
No?
Like my work, what I pitch to the audience is
long pause.
Sharing. Here we go. Yeah. Stop. I'd like people to stop thinking recycling is all that great. I want people to start. Yeah. Let's start reusing and reducing. You know, let's go with the first 2 steps before we start thinking, hey, recycling is going to solve all of our problems. So let's start, like, you know, collaborating on different logistical means we can start coordinating reusing and reducing. You know, go to like Buns Trades, and you know, and Facebook is a good start, but you know, we need to start to try to like expand our market.
Yes, and on that note, I would like to also pitch zero waste markets, where you go with your own containers and you get your grains and shit in boxes that you own from before that you can reuse instead of plastic bags that you can recycle.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff in there. I agree. Let's see if we can start attracting some people to go to these businesses. Or even to have you know, create these businesses different places for people to actually go to. You know, well, all I know is Bulk Barn. Where else is there?
Yeah, it's either way, or it's one way or the other.
You know, and whenever I go to Bulk Barn, I still use the plastic bags.
Well, there's a lot of like zero waste.
Where?
There's one right next to my house.
Oh, really?
And there's like I've seen one downtown recently. I saw one in Westmount, which is weird. There was one when I lived in Hochschlager, and basically, they don't offer any containers. You just go and they have produce, and grains, and they don't have meats and stuff, which kind of sucks.
I mean, you just gotta
go
to the deli or the butcher for that, right?
Which is way cheaper.
Where? Going to the deli?
Yeah, or like going to the place that sells the thing instead of going to a supermarket, where like a big grocery store. Like I bought cheese today from a fromagerie, which is like a cheese place, and it was like at least 30% cheaper than I would actually have bought the cheese in IGA or any other grocery store.
Yeah, I wonder why that is, because usually it's like these big chains, they Walmartify the like for things for a consumer, where they just offer such cheap prices.
Yeah,
that
but
they
it's
like how they go about business. But now it's like, I don't know, it's like there seems to be more big corporations are catering to some boutique, to this like bourgeoisie. It's the convenience. You're willing to pay for a premium for the convenience of going to one place to get all your produce and goods.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's how it is more. Yeah. So, well, we're gonna see you all next. Well, maybe like you're gonna listen to us next week. We're gonna be producing this we're aiming every week. Schedules get busy, life goes on, but we're invested and committed.
But we're gonna have some
give
some
us your
exciting
feedback.
Interviews for you too. So but let us know what how to improve. Give out any suggestions too. Drop us a email. We'll put it let you know how to connect with us online in the description of this episode. Any last words, Tatiana? I guess not. So
yeah, able to read that stuff, or have somebody else read it for you, or Siri.
Can you say that again? The internet cut out. And it cut out again. Well, let's just say.
What part?
All I heard was like get Siri to read it out for you.
Yeah, it cut out again.
Anyways, say goodbye to the audience. We'll let them know what it is next week. All
right. See you guys next week. Have a good weekend.
Have a good quarantine, everyone. Ciao.
Quarantine safe. Bye.
Bye.